In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP. Hey, you gumpers.
Hola, buen dia, Alegria. Munson here with a very dodgy green screen. Got a confession for you this morning. Yeah, hola, buen dia, Alegria. For those of you who are stuck on the opening slide, don't worry, that'll pass soon if you had a little bit of difficulty with that. Looks like it's another Saharan sandstorm in here, and the processor's not entirely happy. So, look at that. The magic of green screen. Ah! Okay, enough fun with that. Let's get that balanced up right and get the show started, which is quite a feat this morning because I've got to say, for the first, I think it might be the first time ever, I may have overslept this morning. Very, very excellent and fun day yesterday at the meetup. Is it possible to have a hangover of good company? You know, you get a hangover traditionally with alcohol, booze, which I will also be doing quite soon. About a week today, we'll be having a beer together on the morning show if you want to, after my year without beer. But is it possible to have a hangover of good company? Because I think I've got that from yesterday. And what do you do in the mornings? I like the sleep button. I think for a lot of you, you've dispensed with an alarm altogether, haven't you, to be fair? Unless you've set one specifically for this. But I like to have the incremental wake up, courtesy of the snooze button. And this morning I went past lethal snooze button usage, and I trusted myself to. I think I'd gone to my maximum amount of sleep button whacks, and then turned the alarm off, thinking, oh, well, I'll just come round in a couple of minutes. And I think half an hour later, I woke up thinking, ooh, I better get a wiggle on this morning. So sorry for the late start. And some of the consequences that might bring this morning, including not having a cup of tea early enough and having a creaky voice. So do excuse me. Extra bags under the eyes this morning. And if you look at that ticker tape, you'll see it's moved to Portugal Thursday, of course. Do you know the themes yet? It's Migration Monday, was your, of course, our resident migration expert here at Expats, Portugal's Good Morning Portugal show. Tuesday is Consumer Tuesday, where we look at a few consumer issues and things to buy, services to take advantage of. Ask Anything About Wednesday, Q&A with residents and special guests like Terence yesterday. Wasn't that amazing? Seeing a painting drawn in front of our very eyes. Oh, and I will bring everyone else's creativity to you that was kindly sent in as well. But again, I'm a little bit behind schedule. I never get tired of this dad joke, you know, like the guy who sat on the bacon slicer at work. That's all part of a good dad joke, isn't it? It's messing up the delivery. Like the guy who sat on the bacon slicer, I got behind with my work this morning. So I'm going to do my best to catch up slowly and steadily. Calma, tranquilo. Here, that's how we do it on the Good Morning Portugal show. Let's find out how you are as well. But yeah, move to Portugal Thursday. Where did I get to? Wednesday, move to Portugal Thursday, and Feel Good Friday. That's how we roll here. Have you noticed that? Had you noticed the amount of care and attention that has gone into the schedule? And then the amazing lineup that we have of co-hosts and guests that are part of that. Jim will be a great guest, I'm sure. Will tell us how he fell in love with Porto, having arrived on the Silver Coast, and talking to us from Porto this morning. And on the tech, Dallas W, the enigmatically named Dallas W, will be from an undisclosed location, talking to us about tech, VPNs, I think privacy matters, those sorts of things that you might want to be involving yourself in or not. But I think certainly that first thing of phones, the best phone connections, and then maybe how to keep your American or UK phone number I'm sure is of interest to a lot of people, and we'll be talking to Dallas W about that from around 9:30 this morning as well. So how's everyone doing? Let's have a look at those comments coming into the show this morning. How's everyone doing? Has anyone else got a good company hangover? Yes, a great meetup yesterday, and another brilliant live stream with Dave. Dave Brenner, ex-Fed worker from the United States, from the DC area. And it's so interesting how we get these coincidences. Somebody else of a very similar profile was tuned in, asking about Alcobaça, ex-Fed worker or retiring Fed worker from the DC area. What's Alcobaça like? Dave's the same profile, living in Alcobaça, would you believe? And he was asked a number of questions live on the live stream, live from Palmera Cafe yesterday in San Martino de Porto. And Dave came up with some cracking answers, including that very serious one. He was asked this, or his wife was asked a serious question. What do you do? How does your wife feel about being alone if anything happens to you, Dave? Which he answered very straightforwardly and plainly. They've talked about it. So you can hear that interview. Uncle Krusty and Claudia turned up. And T-Duck and I talked about our outside broadcast equipment for the more nerdy among you who might like to do a little bit of podcasting or video production from the outdoors. So all of that on the YouTube channel, this very same one that you may well be viewing on. What have we got? Have we got mostly people on YouTube this morning? Yeah, we do, and a few on Facebook. So good morning to you if you're on Facebook, and good morning to you if you're on YouTube. Wait, they say. What? Wait, what? You can watch this on Facebook. You can watch this on YouTube. Yeah, you can both. We used to do Twitter as well. I don't think it was worth doing. And nor was Discord. You're all too old for that, I think. Deagle's in this morning. How's it going, Deagle? Oh, and we've also got, so you know how we love showing those fashion show pictures from the catwalk? Well, you can do it yourself. I found an amazing video that actually could inspire you to start a fashion show inspired by those incredible garments and gentlemen that we have featured before from, I think, probably London Fashion Week, maybe New York, but some highly cosmopolitan part of the world, highly fashionable part of the world. And we watch those with incredulity, don't we, sometimes here? But I've got a video this morning where you can be inspired to have a fashion show with some of the items you find in your Portuguese cellar when you buy your new home in Portugal. That to come as well. Bon dia, Carmen Gumpers, from a very wet 14 degrees Belfast, and it's the last day of June. What? Last day of June? How did that happen? But yeah, a week till the year without beer concludes, and we'll have a little drink together for those of you who want to do it on the morning show next Thursday. I wonder who my guest will be. And if they'll be up for that. Might be a teetotaling Salvation Army person who might find it rather awkward that going on. So I have to choose my guest wisely. And who's up? Do we need to set up an event of having a beer, my first for a year on the Good Morning Portugal show? I know Head Gardener McGrady wants to join me. Oh, well, let me scroll down to the bottom of the comments to see if I've got any sound coming out or something terrible like that has happened. No, I think we're okay. Carl, you are not that late. I didn't get a chance to ask everyone what time you were starting the show today. That's the threshold, isn't it, of lateness? Yeah, when is he going to turn up? Oh, okay, I get you. And yeah, the opening slide, the backdrop was on for rather a lot longer than I would hope for. So thanks for bearing with this morning. Bom dia, Gampas. Feliz quinta a todos. Como vai tudo? Well done, James, with the Portuguese there. And I think we're going to have to step it up a bit, aren't we? Hank and Connie are here. And our people are talking to their people about a regular feature from Hank and Connie. I don't know if Portuguese will be their thing, but I think we do need some daily Portuguese input, don't we? I mean, we do a pretty good job. And as you can see, James is doing his best there. I don't mean that in any sort of patronizing way. Clearly he is, as Deagle is, learning the Portuguese. But I think we should have a Portuguese language feature every day where we learn a little bit of vocab or some sort of grammatical device. Would you agree? Will Rogers, or is this your refuge from having to speak Portuguese if you're here? Will Rogers quote of the day: half of our life is spent trying to find something to do with the time we have rushed through life trying to save. Yes, I'll read that again. I get the gist of that, and it's so true, isn't it? Or it can be, unless we take a good, long, hard look at ourselves. And who doesn't like a good, long, hard look at oneself first thing in the morning? Half our life is spent trying to find something to do with the time we have rushed through life trying to save. There you go. It's insanity, I tell you. T-Duck is also in. Thank you, Will Rogers, via the slug, via James. Bon dia, Gumpers. I can only watch for a short while today. Maybe you've already gone. T-Duck, great job yesterday, my friend. Thank you very much for all your input yesterday. Olá e bom dia, Glia, a todos de Pombal. I'll do that again. Olá e bom dia, Glia, a todos de Pombal. Sunny in Pombal today, by the look of those. That emoji with the shades on there. Bon dia, Gumpers. Tony Baldilocks, how's it going? Tony, good to see you here. Stephen with a bon dia as well. And Kawaii Pandas, how are you feeling this morning? Good morning. I'm early today. Well, yeah, that's one of us then. Gary in too, as well as Antonio F. Mustn't miss Antonio F. Bon dia, todos. Morning. Bon dia to you, Antonio. And bon dia, Gumpers. Thursday is teaching day. I love students, just can't eat a whole one. I was going to finish off that sentence in that way. No, not that one. Well, yes, if you're the student, it's that. If you're Gary Ogles, I can't eat a whole one. There we go. Got me jingle pads. The kid's been messing about again, or is it Mrs. M? Jean is in too. Bon dia todos. How are you, Jean? Yes, your creativity we will feature today as well. Bon dia, the slug has returned. So many of James's names sound like statements that need reading out, and it's just his name. Bon quinta-feira. Gumpers. Cindy, I didn't get a chance to speak to you. I saw you. I kept seeing you. I think I must talk to Cindy. And didn't get to speak to you, but lovely to see you there yesterday. You could always get one of those to-go boxes. What's that? Did I miss something about? Oh, yes, for the bits of the student you can't manage. Para lavar, faz favor. Tell that to a dinner lady, Portuguese dinner lady. Oh, wouldn't that be a good addition to have in an English school? A Portuguese dinner lady with an influence on the on the menu. Bon dia, Matthias. Matti to us. That's Matthias, very posh. Official there. Why is Carl always late? I resent that. I don't deny it exactly, but I do resent that to Andrew Gilchrist. You're like the drunk knocking on the pub door. Come here. Well, actually, does that happen anymore? Pubs are open all the time, aren't they, pretty much? When my mother and father owned a pub in Bristol, there were gentlemen who, at 5:30, when pubs used to open in the evening, after they'd shut down at 2:30, I think, in the afternoon, there were people banging on the door, desperate for their pint. I take it as a compliment that you're concerned and complaining that I'm not here on time. It's only a couple of minutes ever, isn't it? Baddy, and also, how you doing, Baddy? My goodness, one or two challenges that we spoke of yesterday between us. I hope you're feeling great today, and you're overcoming some of those challenges of moving to Portugal Thursday, as it is today. Hola, bon dia, Alegria, and I hope you got my email as well. Bon dia todos from the gorgeous Barrada this morning. Barrada, yes, indeed. Roll your R when you go through Barrada. Hey, do you think they want that, Andy, as their tourist office slogan? Roll your R as you go through Barrada. Probably not. I'm making it sound like it's a Welsh town, and they probably don't want that. Not that there's anything wrong with Wales, but you don't want people looking for the Barrada and Suckling Pig and Fizz turning up at Llandudno, do you, particularly? That could be very confusing. Is Carl having a... What does that mean? I don't think I want to talk about that, just in case it is what I think it might be, Andrew. And you weren't far off the mark, I suspect. Good morning, everybody. João F. Andrew. Lisa's here this morning as well. Bon dia todos, meus amigos. There we go. There's the Portuguese we're talking about. Anna, bon dia from Stockholm. Oh, relocated for a couple of months. My goodness. Is that to avoid the heat of the Algarve, which is certainly hotting up? Well, kind of. I hate the snooze button, says Matty. Whenever I used it, I was too late for anything. Yeah, I guess. German, you want to be up and out of bed and into that cold shower. Yes, and you do need some time for yourself, lol. Yeah, but taking time for myself just before I'm starting the radio show is not good. Is it? I call it a radio show. Do you call it? Do you think of it as a radio show? Why is Carl always late? Because he is being Portuguese about it. Yes, João F. Take that, Andrew Gilchrist. Thank you very much, João F, for defending me in that way, and I'll take that. I like to sleep since I hardly do, but for some reason I hit the snooze button when I know I have to get up, and it makes me feel like I had extra sleep. Yes, I think that's probably part of my reasoning as well. Okay, I was going to play the video so I can have a sip of tea. A sip of water as well to ease this somewhat croaky throat this morning. But it's a voiceover. I've got to give you a bit of a voiceover on it as well. So hold on just a moment. Let's get through the comments and then get ready to do your Portuguese fashion show, okay? Carl, you are not that late. Yes, thank you, Stephen, for that. Very, very funny. Okay. Oh, and I think I've just did the old comment whiz just happened where I just a couple of turns of the mouse wheel, and then suddenly I disappear from where I want to be, and loads more comments turn up. So can Carl join the man cave next Friday? Is that tomorrow? I'll see. I might be late, a few hours late. It's on so late, and you're all so drunk. It's a very difficult environment for me to be in, but maybe come next week. Ah, that's the one. Oh, okay. I see what you mean. Booze infused as I might be next Friday. Maybe. Aren't the Portuguese schools off for summer holidays now, by the way? They may well be. They may well be. The little sound you heard there is Jim limbering up in the green room. Excellent. And my team will be greeting Jim into the green room and offering him a range of virtual canapes and refreshments. As in, make your own breakfast, Jim. What happened to everyone? Bring it along. What happened to everyone doing 15 minutes? Yes, someone had to say it. Somebody had to say it. And Stephen is going to get a boo for that, reminding us of that and making us all accountable and everything. How could you, Stephen Wells? How's your 15 minutes going? Jim's here in a minute. Is his greeting. See you soon. You will. About 10 minutes, and we'll have Jim on and talk about Jim's wonderful story of coming to Portugal and 10 days counting down. Look, pre-move, 10 days until my sailing day. Oh, sailor. Handy. Thank you. Let's count that down with Andy, shall we? So next time we speak, we 9, 8, 7, 6 days on Monday. It's just amazing. Really not long now, Andrew. If you're a Facebook friend, you will see Andrew's preparations. He's approaching it like an engineer. I's are dotted, T's are crossed, WD-40 sprayed over everything. And who doesn't like WD-40 sprayed over everything first thing in the morning? Thank you. I am feeling better. Do you call that in the States as well? It probably is an American product, isn't it? You call gaffer tape duct tape, don't you? WD-40 is probably universal, I think, as a lubricant. Thank you. And it's got a good story, isn't it? Some people do put it on their knees and skin, you know. Thank you, Carl. I'm feeling better, recovering with everyone here. Plus, it's my daughter's birthday today, so I need to be better. Marvelous. Parabéns to the youngster there. Carl, tell that to Roger Bannister. What's that? For a few minutes don't matter. Fair play. I'm still here. I can hear you. We're doing a walking tour in Lisbon this morning. Oh, a Portuguese friend is starting a tour business. We get to be first. Isn't that fantastic? Let us know how that goes and let us know how we can support that person. Very glad to do that. James, let's come back to some of these a little bit later, but thank you very much. Who doesn't like 15 minutes of Portuguese in the morning? Well, not many of you, it would appear. I guess it still works out for me. If I could get to move, I could always fly her out on her birthday. Isn't that lovely? Wouldn't that be an amazing birthday treat? I do love the smell of WD-40 first thing in the morning. I bet you do. When it comes to workshops, none of this namby-pamby personal development stuff. A workshop is somewhere where work takes place and the sound of screaming metal and lubrication. What's this? Nuno wasn't able. This is unusual. Oh, he was able. That's good. Sorry, I thought that was not there. Able to help my son with work insurance, and he can finally start his work as a carpenter at the Boom Festival. Boom Festival. We must do something about that. Not that many of us will probably want to go when we hear that it's like thousands of people enjoying trance music, but you never know. There are exceptions here. We'll ask Jim if he wants to go to that in a minute. To GMP and Expats Portugal. Thanks to us, the Boom Festival in part is going ahead. Oh, that's how I'm reframing that comment. Thank you, Johnny, for letting us know. I recommend to anyone looking for appropriate insurance. There you go. Thank you very much. Winsurance. Oh, I see. There you go. There's a link to take you right there. And tell Nuno where you found us, of course. Thank you, Johnny, for that. Okay, that video then. Creativity videos and pictures coming up later on in the show. But I wanted to share this with you because I thought we have had a little bit of a giggle at some of these fashion videos from the catwalks, the global catwalks of the fashion elite. And this video was inspired. I think it's probably the I don't know where it's from. I'll go with your guesses on this. But I thought a lot of these things you can find in a Portuguese basement, especially when you buy an old property for renovation. So you can thank me later when you see yourself wandering around your quinta, dressed up in all manner of finery like these. The Zimmer. Corrugated roofing there. You're going to find a bit of that, aren't you? Oh, that's an unusual one, isn't it? Hopefully there isn't somebody lurking in your cellar like that. That's part of your catwalk. The fly screen. The classic fly screen move there. The bench. You might see that in Portugal. That might be on the patio rather than the basement, of course. Here we go. The leaning timber move, very good. This guy's rocking it as well, isn't it? Ah, the bed frame, classic. So many classics here. The bed frame. The livestock fence, that's a good one, isn't it? Be careful going to the supermarket with that one. And yes, classic of all classics, the water butt. Looking good, my friend, whoever you are. That showed up on Twitter. Wasn't that great? I'll have to show you that again at the end, just in case you missed anything there and you have been inspired. It needed a bit of music, didn't it? It needed a bit of music to go with it. Some pumping, fashionable music there, Zoolander style. Superb. Thank you very much. Whoever you are who made that. And what's that? OMG. Yes, quick. Was there music on that? And I couldn't hear it. I don't know. Nunu for president. Yes, as good a candidate as any. He would be really good, I think. Would the power change him, I wonder? And a year without beer, what flavor will you drink? Tegresh, Superbox, Sagresh, or Crystal? It's going to be Sagresh for me. I am a Sagresh man through and through. And it'll only be a mini because I think it could be quite terrible if I drink too much as my first glass of beer for a year, don't you think? My favorite is the water tub, bumping into anything and everything, risking your life for fashion, just as it should be. I'm glad you appreciated that, Kawaii Pandas, and I hope to see photographs from people or videos, even better, of you bumping into things in the supermarket, dressed up in your latest fashions that have been found from your Portuguese renovation property. Okay, I'm going to have to do this live, and you're going to have to bear with a little bit here, but we were sent in some, I'm going to give you a little preview of my own. Oh, belated birthday best to Mark Rigby. Pavor de Vagim. Morning to you, Mark, if you tuned in. And I hope you had a great birthday. It was Jean and Victoria and somebody else who sent in pictures yesterday. Do remind me a little bit of a video then of the Vicky treatment that was given to a sugar bowl yesterday, so that you'll get a sonic preview of this. You hear that? There's the Algarve Sea in the background there. Wow, that's really good. There's a little bit of illustration skills going on there. I'll show you that in just a moment. Jean also, you like it? Are you enjoying the little preview here? Oh, and Sue's sent in an amazing illustration as well. So we've got Old Hook Farm painting by Jean. You are so skilled here. So this creativity, of course, inspired by Terence, who was with me. And sorry for just looking down. That's a bit disconcerting, isn't it? The host looking down. It looks like he's gone to sleep. No, Jim, don't worry. I haven't nodded off. I'm just downloading a few. That could be so embarrassing, couldn't it? Guest waiting in the green room. Host nods off. How do we wake him up? Someone ring him on WhatsApp. And finally, I'm downloading Suze's pen and ink. Cockney rhyming slang of called pen and ink. Oh, blimey, don't have pen and ink in here. But nothing to do with pen and inking apart from it being executed in pen and ink there. Oh, I think you've got a few more comments about the fashion show, but let me bring these to you, these delightful illustrations. It was incredible. It was mesmerizing yesterday watching Terence Austin create some artwork in front of our very eyes. Oh, and I've got my picture of, did I show you my picture of me and Zay Pavina? Oh, I did, didn't I, yesterday? What a guy. I was finding out more about him. I do love the description of Zay Pavina. It was a postcard from Portugal that I create for the Premium Plus gang. And I was telling them a little bit about Zay Pavina, the everyman, the John Doe of Portugal. Look him up if you can. That's this guy here in the picture. He's the one on the right, incidentally. And so creativity inspired by Terence yesterday. Look at that. Oh, I think we've lost a little bit of definition in the photograph, but isn't that skillful? That's Suze. And I made this of my friend's house. Thanks, Mr. Austin, as well, from Suze yesterday. Morning to you, Susan Taxi. Or, yeah, morning when you hear this, when you wake up and watch the replay. And these from Jean, these are so good. Inspiration. It was such a good session yesterday. Jean, what's this one? Oh, that's Cape Cod. Some of you might have guessed that already, you folks from that part of the United States. This is Lake George, New York, and Hulitz Landing. These are iconic places, are they not? And finally, then, that's quite impressionistic and beautiful. Look at the blue sky there, a blue sky reminiscent of Portugal. And maybe you've made that connection yourself there. Old Hook Farm, Emerson, New Jersey there. The New Jersey sky looking a lot like the beautiful Portuguese azul there. Fantastic. Super. Well done, everybody. And finally, then, a video before we go to your reactions to the to the fashion show. There may have been things that were missed by that gentleman who did the fashion show there. What else could you find in your Portuguese cellar? Maybe a black bin liner full of ceramic tiles, one from each ear. There's a possibility for you. I think that's the Sharpie pen at work there, isn't it? Great work from Victoria there, making her sugar bowl her own with a little bit of extra illustration. They're superb. Such a creative bunch. Absolutely brilliant. Jim with us in a couple of minutes. What's that? Horse and carted. I think Andrew's showing off his. That's a brilliant comment as well. Yes, I think we have some inspiration in the comments this morning. WD-40. It smells like it's fixed. That's what they should put on their cans. That's brilliant. And my favorite is the water tub. Okay, yep, we got that. Sending pictures. Go away. A Year Without Beer. Great movie title. Yeah, but A Year with Beer is going to be a funnier film, isn't it? A Year with Lots of Beer would be a funny film. A Year Without Beer could be a dark European movie, couldn't it? Of someone really struggling and suffering for 365 days, complaining about that. Imagine, but I agree with you. It has got a ring to it, hasn't it? I imagine you are going to drink that Sagres and it tastes awful as your taste buds are not used to beer anymore. What then? Well, you can see for yourself. I'm going to do it live a week today here on this very screen. And I hope Sagres aren't watching because that will ruin my sponsorship deal of them sending me a crate of Sagres every day. A week will be fine, Sagres. But yes, I will pretend to enjoy it, even if it tastes terrible after a year without it. And Joao F, that's just was that the fashion show? I wonder, or A Year Without Beer? Unimaginable. Bon dia from Cindy B to Joao F. Carl, can I read? Andrew, you're a bit frisky this morning. I'm going to have it. There's something special. Okay, I think this is okay. There's something special about the smell of hot metal and lubricant in a workshop. There is, isn't there? There is. I think some of us remember that from our school days. Did you have a terrifying metalwork teacher? I did. I had a terrifying metalwork teacher who just wanted everyone to wear boxing gloves and beat each other up. And he wanted to beat us up, I think. There was an underlying threat constantly in the metalwork room. Whereas Mr. Neil, my woodwork teacher, was so kind and gentle. And he was building a canoe. And part of it wasn't his job. I think it was just a side project. He was building it wasn't a canoe. It was one of those sculling, those rowing boats. And I think he might have made the classic mistake of making this great big sculling boat inside the woodwork shop. And I couldn't see how he was going to get it out once he'd made it. I don't know. He must have thought of that, right? But maybe it's still in the woodwork shop to this very day until the woodwork shop is demolished and they'll be able to get it out of there. What's this? I'm a Sagres man through and through. And his friend James replies, igualmente. What does that mean? Yes, I know, Andrew, how that Cockney rhyming slang works. I'm not going to be reading that out. For a while, I thought you were not speaking to me. Cindy B. Yeah, that's two of us then. From yesterday. I'm so sorry I didn't get to speak to you yesterday. I hope it's nothing personal, Cindy B. And if it is, we have the conflict resolution skills to figure it out. I'm sure Jim can help us with that, in fact. Bon dia, everyone. Gutted we missed yesterday. Glad to catch up. Has sorted its tech issues. Oh, did you have tech issues there? What's going on there? You're at the cutting edge of technology. Don't expect that from you, Peter Bleach. Hope you're feeling better as well now. It's 9:01. We are slow. I am slow to bring Jim onto the screen this morning, live from Porto. Our dear friend, my great Jim. How are you this morning?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm so well, thank you. Yeah, a little bit tardy. A little bit. I've been calm.
No. You're here. You're here.
That's the main thing, isn't it?
That's the main thing, to be here. I'm really happy to be here and to see everybody.
I saw you giggling, Jim. I saw you giggling. I saw you giggling with some of those fashion items. Are you thinking?
Yes, I had some of those when I left Baltimore. I had many of those things that went to the junk pile and the Goodwill. I think maybe about half of them were things that I found down in the basement.
And I hope you walked from the basement to the end of your yard with them sported like that.
Oh, yeah, I dressed for that. The neighbors loved it. They were waiting every day to see what I would be doing with that. So
I had no idea that Baltimore was so high up in the north.
It's a progressive place.
Of course it is. And you are wearing a beautiful hat. You're fitting in with this image of me and Zapovina there.
I decided to do that after I came too close. I went into the wrong hairdressers or barber shop, and my Portuguese is bad, and I think when I said medium to long, he thought I was saying sort of medium to short, so it went short. So
You're not going to show us.
Won't show, not today.
Not
but I just wanted to say hello to everybody, and I'm glad to be here. And I'd like to start out with a shameless plug, if I could.
But you can.
For you.
Oh, okay. Yes, definitely then.
All right. And for EI and
yes.
Gilda and Christina, for Nuno, for the Spartan FX folks, and also for Serenity. If it weren't for all of you, and including those of us in the audience, we wouldn't be here.
Oh, bless you, Jim.
We wouldn't be here. And we so appreciate everything that you are doing to make it possible for people to come and create a new life for themselves. Thank you so much.
Well, that is putting the moving into moving to Portugal on Move to Portugal Thursday. That is so touching, and thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
Yes, and all of those lovely folks. These are real people we're dealing with, aren't they? As well,
they are.
And they're not. They are, of course, they're companies, and they are businesses. And the wonderful thing is, we on a regular basis, we get to see the human side. You get to know who you're dealing with, and it's lovely to hear from you. What I take away from that is that the folks, as they present themselves and as they communicate on the show, are just like they are in real life, and when you're dealing with them in business.
They are. Yeah, I remember our first meeting with Gilda on in a Zoom call for the vetting process, and we were so nervous about. We didn't, the whole process and whether or not we had enough money and all, and we could, she was reassuring. And then as we went forward with Christina, we got so much reassurance. And I say this because they really, we wanted our hands to be held with this, and they came with us to our CEF meeting as well.
Oh, wow.
So it's a complete service.
Yes, incredible. Well, I'm sure Gilda and Christina will be delighted to hear that, as will you mentioned Nunu from Winsurance, Sarah from Spartan. I know will be delighted as well. Recently over in Portugal, she wants to come back. I think she's saying to her colleagues, you know what, going to Portugal really works. I think it really helps. So I'm booking my next flight right now. So it was lovely to see. So you work with Sarah and Spartan Effects, and you mentioned Michael as well.
Michael and Serenity. Yeah, we're working with Sophia and Michael there, and very, very pleased with the references, referrals, and things like that. And so it really everything has made our lives as easy as it could be under the circumstances. So
yeah, of course, yeah. So when the curveballs do come, we've managed to or you've managed to cope with them.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And iron out any wrinkles. Talking of Michael Averbook, he's with us tonight on our webinar. Misconceptions and misinformation about access to healthcare in Portugal. So you can get to meet Michael, Dr. Averbook, in the way that Jim has here as well. Thank you, Jim. I wasn't expecting that, and I'm so glad you said all of that. I really am. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Oh, superb. So yeah, the process you speak of, when did it begin, and what inspired you to move to this wonderful country?
Well, once upon a time, in March of 2020, there was a couple living in Baltimore with 3 cats whose businesses radically shifted from teaching yoga in clubs, etc., and teaching in organizations to online. And as we shifted to online, we realized that this could be done in a different place and lots of circumstances. So we decided to explore Portugal to 2020 in March. We began the process and then discovered you and the resources, their Facebook resources as well. There are expat communities that are very, very helpful as well, and began to imagine how it could be to be there and coincidentally, part of it was art.
Oh.
And building on what you are doing with Terrence yesterday and what he was doing with us, one of our drivers here was the fact that Mandy is an artist and is interested in urban sketching. And as we looked around Europe and looked at all of the variable kinds of things, it was just made sense to start to really look at Portugal, and particularly to look at Porto and Coimbra, and to say as a place to land. And that's what brought us.
Okay, that's amazing. March 2020 was quite a significant time to be moving around in the world, wasn't it?
Oh, it was. It was.
As it turned out.
It was. And we didn't take, we're like about half of the folks who come over, coming over sight unseen. Our seeing of Portugal was through your eyes.
Okay.
And that was, and we came sight unseen, and we regret nothing.
That's incredible. But by virtue of the circumstances, that had to be the way, I guess. And the way I've told your story is I met you here on the Silver Coast. You landed in Peniche first, and it was our loss not to. Excuse me a minute. Oh. That's better. It was our loss to have you move from Peniche, I thought, and the Silver Coast up to Porto. But now I hear more of the backstory. It makes complete sense. How is the urban sketching going? Because those places are wonderful for such activities.
They are wonderful. It's just amazing. And Mandy goes out every afternoon and gets her favorite coffee shop, and then does her sketching. And I've joined a group here for some ongoing things, and so she loves it. Just loves it.
That's superb. Well, I hope we can see Mandy's work. Love to Mandy, by the way. And
thank you.
It'll be wonderful if she exhibits one day. Maybe we can help with that, with some sort of virtual exhibition, if not a physical one.
That sounds very good.
And I'm inspired as well. I was very inspired to see on Visit Portugal. They came up with a campaign called, I think they're called Sketches of Portugal, Sketches Around Portugal, where they have a visual artist and a poet or a prose writer, and they make these little videos from a location with the sketchers sketching and the poet speaking of that experience. And the sad thing about it is they're on Visit Portugal's YouTube channel, and they've only had like 100 views. So I will spread the word on that. I have reached out to them because I want to show them on the show, but I need their permission, obviously. But it's such a lovely idea. Portugal is such a photogenic, sketch-worthy, if that's the right description, but it is so visually appealing and wanting to be drawn, isn't it?
Oh, it is. And we live in an area of Porto. It's north of the river, about a mile and a half. It's still considered in the city, and we're near one of the major metros, the Marques Park Metro. And with it, you can walk out your door, and left, right, center, everywhere, cafes. Of course, you can't get a good pastry here. I'm not sure what the problem is about pastries, but I really wish they would do something with their pastry.
Well, my heart goes out to you, and I do hope that situation improves soon. this country and its awful pastries, honestly,
terrible pastries.
You know what, Jim? You're going to get me in trouble because sometimes the humor on this show goes unnoticed, and somebody on YouTube, in a couple of days' time, will say, "How very dare you," or something like that. It's a joke. It's a joke.
It's a joke. I love the pastries too much. I love them.
There's the problem.
I don't know why I hadn't heard about them when I was in the US, but I love them, and I'm so glad they're here.
Well, that's a thing. There are so many well-kept secrets, and we'll disclose a few of those, I think, in just a moment. But people loving what you're opening this morning. Yes, says James. Let's hear it for all GMP's partners, Expats Portugal's partners there. And look, Gilda was here to hear that as well. Sending you a few kisses there, Jim, this morning. And congrats on the move, Jim, from Rishab, who's part of our community here. It is touching that Carlos helped so many people to come. Erotic novel entry possibly there as well.
That's for after show.
It is, isn't it? Peter, honestly. Carlo GP, gateway for many expats. Thank you, T-Duck. We're very proud of the work we do in helping people expats Portugal. Sarah, Nuno, and Buddy saying wash hands. That when that comes up, that's a joyful emoji, I think, and then it gets translated by our software as wash hands for some reason. For all the supporting, we're not washing our hands of anything here. Quite the opposite. For all the supporting agencies and professionals helping us make our move here. Yeah, absolutely. And big shout out for Gilda as well. James to see Gilda here this morning. Oh, and Mia as well. Shout out to Mia for the language support too. Mia Esmeres.
Absolutely.
I think back from Hawaii now, so we'll see her at the end of July. 60% of the move to Portugal is emotional. I'm sure we'll talk about this, Jim. Sure, it's emotional support. Sure, it's 100% emotional and 60% emotional support. Sure, you can do so many things on your own, but the community support makes a huge difference. Yes. And announcement from Cindy, for anyone who thinks I'm ignoring them, I am dealing with allergies causing my ear to stop up, and it makes it difficult to hear. I'm glad I mentioned it, because isn't it great to mention these things rather than running off and jumping to conclusions? A very simple medical situation behind this. It's getting better, and hopefully will completely clear soon. Not ignoring us at all. So love to you, Cindy B, for a speedy recovery on that. The allergies bunging up your ears there. That is awful, isn't it? When you're in a social situation and you're concerned that you might not be able to hear people. And so good to see you yesterday, says the T-Duck. Hope you feel better soon. Yes, the emotions of moving. Jim, you are a personal development professional, so I think you more than many others will be aware of some of the dynamics going on when moving country. What have you got to say about that?
Well, I have I've worked in the area for a long time, and I thought, because I'd done this for a long time and lived in some different places and felt like I'd adapted well, I knew, what it was about.
Yes.
However, as I got here, I didn't know totally what it was about, and what the thing. And this was not about Portugal; it's about me in Portugal. And it is about dealing with my own frustrations about feeling stupid sometimes because you can't get the ATM card working, and the conversation is about something going on inside. I should know this. I've done this before. What's wrong? Those kinds of things, can wear on you. And so realizing that was a part of the conversation in my head, it impacts your mood, etc., and your outlook. And what I think it goes back to the Buddhist thing. It's just have a beginner's mind. How do you live in a beginner's mind?
Yes.
To recognize that all of this is different, and how can you expect yourself to understand everything? You don't have the language. You have maybe some physical cues about how people stand and walk, etc. But there's a lot of information you don't have, and as you know, we make stuff up. And unfortunately, I make it up about myself. And so
that's really interesting, if I may dwell on that for a moment, because I love how you put that. It's going on in me, isn't it? It's not about Portugal. I mean, it is in a sense. Portugal is the projection screen or the trigger.
It's the screen,
Wherever you are is the screen or the trigger. The circumstances you find yourself in, and here we're talking about being in new circumstances, they will be the stimulation for what then goes on inside you. And as you say, the stories we make up. So if you have a little bit of a script about, I can't do things, or I'm not very good at X, Y, or Z, that's likely to happen, isn't it? When you find yourself in the beginner's mind in not the most positive of ways.
Not the positive. And the spiral, as we all know, once we get into that, we can spiral down very quickly. If we don't have a way to interrupt it somehow.
So some people might be recognizing that. So for example, solo 50 plus expat Portugal. Louise, so great to see you again yesterday. On the subject of moving to Portugal, I'm sitting in the IMT office with ticket number, what is this? 147,889. I think that's a little bit of an exaggeration there. The wows of changing a driving license. So that's one of those situations where you're sat there, especially then when you see on the screen IMT now serving number 16. Very funny, T-Duck. Not a fan of IMT, but that could change at any moment for T-Duck. What do you do? What have you done yourself personally? What would you say to other people who find themselves in these spirals? Because it can go from a nice day out, having just had one of those lovely pastries you mentioned and a coffee. Then you go and do a bit of bureaucratic work. and that trigger happens, what to do in that situation, Jim?
Well, aside from Superbach, which I don't necessarily, that seriously though, I think it's part, as we've talked on here before, it's recognizing the pattern. First of all, it's just all of a sudden, oh, there I go again. Oh, there it is. There's that pretty, there it is. And then the moving into the physical part and moving into breath, and breathing and working to calm your nervous system down enough so that you can see a different way out of it. I mean, sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. All of these somatic techniques, mind-body techniques, work to the degree that you can work them, but they're not 100%.
No, fair enough. But good to
but
make
I
a
think
start.
That's part of it. And then recognize when you get into a bad mood, if kind of track back to what may have triggered that bad mood, and how might I think my way around it? But it's hard to think your way out of an emotion, so it has to get physical many times.
Yes, get back into the body, and I suppose it's not what you're talking about. People will recognize as mindfulness, seeing it going on and creating a little bit of transcendence and space, allowing it. And not hopefully going too deep into those particular emotional rabbit holes. All very useful and interesting stuff, and something to be aware of. As I've said before, after the luggage comes the baggage, right? So that is part of the part of the journey. Part of the journey is yes, I love all the pastries and the coffee and the Superbach, and then yourself catches up with you, doesn't it? Wherever you go, there you are.
There you are. That's right. It does. And I think starting out, one of the things that is helpful is start out the day with crafting a mood. So the question is, what mood do I want to craft today?
Oh, okay.
And there are some things that do work. Is asking yourself, this comes from Tony Robbins' work, the NLP kinds of stuff, but asking yourself 5 questions and then feeling the feelings around those questions to see if that shifts your trajectory. It may or may not, but it can't hurt. And you ask the question, so what am I looking forward to? And then feel it.
Yeah.
And what am I grateful? What am I looking forward to? What am I excited about? And then feel that. So you let it wash over you. What am I grateful for? Let that wash over. What am I proud of? Let it wash over. And then where is love in my life? And it can be a pet or a person or whatever. And let those answers to those questions wash over you to see if it does help a little bit in terms of the startled look that you have when you look in the mirror in the morning and say, Dad, oh.
What are you doing here?
What are you doing here?
Get out of my bathroom. Oh, that list, Jim. That just hearing you say that without even doing the exercise, I moved from my head to my heart there, and that's beautiful. So, are you on our forum, expatsportugal.com/community? Can people connect with you, or maybe can we get those published over there? That would be great.
Sure, I'd be happy to do that. Sure.
What a lovely process, because there's no excuse anymore, is there? I mean, in a busy working life, I haven't got time to sit down and contemplate 5 questions every morning. But over coffee and the pastel de nata that we've spoken about, you could do that, couldn't you?
Yeah, you can. And from what I have read and here is that the most powerful one of those quote emotions, I guess, or feeling states is gratitude.
Yeah.
And being able to move into gratitude wherever you happen to be can be a bit of a remedy for a mood. A bit. But it's very powerful according to current research anyway.
Yeah, it'll move you that little bit along in a more favorable direction along the emotional scale, of course.
Yes.
And there are hopefully many things that many of us here can be grateful for and express our gratitude. So tell us a bit about Porto and the gratitude, the delight you're having in that city. Not a place I know very well. I've been a couple of times and really enjoyed myself, as people do. But what's your view of Porto, having spent quite a few months there now?
Yeah, we've been here since February. And we do love it, and what we love about this is about Portugal and Porto, And this is, people say, what is it that you like about the country? And I think stepping back, it's safe, sane, and civil.
Yeah.
And we all know what's going on in other parts of the world, but and Porto feels safe and sane and civil, and it turns up every day. And I'll give you an example, and this might in the U.S. or U.K. or whatever might not be a big deal, but Mandy does her art. She goes to a cafe every day and has coffee and a pastanada, and then goes out and does her art and sketching. And she had a feeling that she had made a faux pas at one time, because we don't have Portuguese. She doesn't have Portuguese. So she had a feeling that she had a faux pas. She'd made a faux pas. And she was reluctant to go back because she had the story, just like we all have a story, about what had gone on. I had a cold and an allergy, not you did something wrong kind of thing.
Yes.
And she goes back and she's there and she's got her purse sitting there. And the person that was waiting on her moved her purse down and gave her a large sardine. Very large. It was a gift. Tears came to her eyes. She felt like so much that was just a sign of, it's subtle. It's not a big deal in other circumstances, but in this particular circumstances, getting a unasked for sardine that was about, I don't know, that long. It was huge.
Yes.
It wasn't in a can. It was, a real sardine.
A grilled one. Yeah, absolutely.
Grilled sardine. So that's blowing that up in terms of the feel of the place, in terms of the people and the interaction. It feels real. We hang out at a cafe that's not very far from here. It's it's very varied all of the time, not fancy at all, and the life there is very nice. It's nice to watch. It's nice to feel. It feels you're being held somehow.
Yeah.
And they're all different people going all different kinds of ways. Yet, but the feeling is that this is a nice place to be.
Yes, incredible. No, I do know that feeling, and that's one of my benchmarks for what I love about Portuguese cafes. I don't know what stimulated the conversation I was having with Mrs. M about this, but our favourites aren't especially what we would call posh. They are what you've just nailed it with that what you just said there. You go in there and you feel held. It's not all about the style or the presentation.
No,
because the food's going to be pretty wholesome.
It is wholesome. And the folks who are there, they're working. They're from all walks of life, and it's everything from folks who just got off the job of construction to actually tourists walking down the street and say, "Oh, this looks like an interesting place," and it's varied.
Yes, and the little smile you get. This is one of my favorites is a real, the village cafe called Carlos's, funnily enough. But that's what we always felt when we went in there. And there would be workers in there, there'll be local families, a really good mix of people. But we felt held. You're right. That's a beautiful word. Part of it is a function of the local community, isn't it? It's not just a catering transaction. There's a social function of these places, isn't there?
It is. And right next door, literally, is a posher pizzeria, Italian, very fine, California blonde wood place. If you get that kind of image, with not scanned, but IKEA chairs, but fancy IKEA chairs and things. It's very, very nice. And of course, the prices are quite different, but it's quite a different feel. It's comfortable.
Yes,
there's nothing wrong with it. It's comfortable. And it's different.
Yes, all you would expect from a meal out, and that would be satisfied. But that X factor we're talking about there is really important, isn't it, in the local cafe, and obviously something that you really love. Jim, it's wonderful talking to you this morning. Let's see what others are saying. Sure. You might want to stick around for the conversation on technology that we have coming up. Dallas will be talking to us about tech tips for people newly arrived, probably from the United States, North America. I think some of this will be transferable to other places as well, but we'll see when we talk to Dallas. But certainly, I think I'll find out properly what a VPN is in a little while. You know what a VPN is?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, okay, very good. Okay. Well,
Not to explain it technically, but I know what it does.
Okay, our next guest will be able to do that sort
Yeah.
of thing for us there and help us with transferring those telephone numbers and those sorts of things and those.
You turn it on.
Yes.
Turn
Okay,
it off.
that's the limit of your. So I don't really know what it is, and you know how to turn it on. Okay, so we'll find out a little bit more in a few minutes' time with Dallas. Love that. What's this? Through your eyes statement. That's what I try to do with my YouTube channel. It hasn't gone unnoticed, Louise, and I think that's why people love your YouTube channel. IMT for you, Louise. It's pretty quick process after you've done those biometrics. I found saying to scoop often and sincerely helped. Has that got you by in a few situations, Jim, as well? The old scoop?
Yes. Yes. When I don't do it in Spanish. That's the other thing.
Yeah. That could.
That's not a good idea.
That's
as you
not a
well
good
know.
idea. Yes, absolutely. Oh, wash hands is clapping. So thank you for that. So we got the clap from Baddy there. The problem with them, the Portuguese pastries, is that they're too good. Absolutely. Right. That's the way of looking at it. Brian's in this morning. I think we've got, going back to Victoria and creativity, I think we've got a confession that is connected with Spain in just a moment. They're pretty nice, to be honest. The IMT certainly happier than the DVLA, which is the UK equivalent. Yes, smash that likey button. Yeah, beautiful morning this morning talking to Jim. As I expected, things that we I was expecting the unexpected. I knew you'd deliver us a few gems this morning, and you have, Jim. Thank you so much for being here on Moving to Portugal Thursday. So happy I came with that beginner's mind, says James, one of those gems that you were talking about. And little to no attachment. Well, that's going to help, isn't it? If you haven't got expectations, they can't be dashed, I guess, with that as well.
Speaking of attachments, we left Baltimore with 18 suitcases, which seems to be too much now. So the rest of everything else stayed back or went away.
I thought you were going to make a Hoover joke there. Why do Buddhists? Why can't Buddhists Hoover in the corners? Because they've got no attachments.
They don't, no attachments.
Yes, that's right. But 18 cases, Jim. You did it that way. You chose not to ship.
Three cats and 18 suitcases.
Must ask you quickly then, how are the cats settling in? How is that process for anyone wanting to bring cats?
It's lovely. My advice is, though, make sure when you get into the airport in Lisbon that you know where your cats that you've sent in the hold are supposed to go.
Yes.
Because if you get out of security and you haven't gotten your cats, getting back in to get your cats is an ordeal. So we learned about that. And they're safe and sound and happy.
And quite difficult when you've got 18 cases to look after between two of you.
Yeah, it was we didn't take the obligatory pictures of us, straddling 3 carts or 4 carts. I wish we had. We just didn't have the presence of mind to do something that complicated when we were already complicated.
But that must have been amazing. The train of 18 cases coming through there and 3 cats as well. Brilliant.
Yeah, both of us, a cart in each hand pushing up a hill.
Incredible. Yeah. So you deserved your pastry that day for sure.
Boy, was that good.
Yeah,
that was really good.
It's good to remember this for those on scouting trips. It's not only Portugal you're scouting, but rather you're scouting yourself in Portugal. How about that? Yes,
absolutely.
How you feel. First visit to Porto was miserable. For me, 6 months later, awesome. Okay, so you changed maybe and not Porto there. Thank you, Rebecca, for being here and saying that. And this is the big announcement, everybody. Heading to Spain in a few minutes, I think, as well there. How could you, Victoria? Well, we hope you have a lovely time over there. We forgive you. We forgive you. Yeah, amazing. And we know you love the Iberian Peninsula. So T-45, and that was a few minutes ago. Have a beautiful time. Do send us a postcard, virtual or actual. It would be lovely to see that. Have a wonderful time over there, Victoria. I'm in Coimbra, says Rebecca, which is also super hilly. The views are nice from the top, but getting to the top isn't as delightful. Well, that's a life metaphor, isn't it? You got to earn the view, I guess. Sometimes.
That's right.
Dealing with bureaucracy is difficult, but add it to the limits from old age and health issues, and it becomes almost impossible. Mars, we're doing our best, to help you. It is a challenge, no question. I don't want to make light of that. It can be challenging when you have age. I was going to say going against you. I don't want to put it like that, but of course, yes, things can become a little bit
carrying you along.
Yes, carrying you along. That's the way to put it. Yes, so we'll do our best to help you, Moaz. And I'm with the wisdom that we're gathering among us. I hope that helps with a little bit of wind beneath your wings as well. Okay, it's 9:32. Before we go, then finally to find out about tech for the travelers. No regrets, then, Jim. Delighted to have made it. What would you say to anyone else thinking about this?
Don't hesitate. If you're thinking about it and contemplating it, if there's any, just pay. Don't hesitate. It's really, really worth it to do this. And I think, it's always the question, why didn't we think about this sooner? That's the whole, I wish we had done this sooner.
Funnily enough, we don't often hear people say, what you should do is delay your dreams. We hear this a lot in this community. Get on with it, do it. Make them do the necessary research. Make the right choices.
Sure.
But go for it. And thank you for reiterating that, Jim. It's clearly worked for you. And when we dig deeper into this, look, after luggage comes the baggage.
I love it.
I think you're on our faculty with that. And we have talked, haven't we, about how you'll be available to help people in some way with this sort of issue. Jim, thank you so much. Stick around. Don't go anywhere.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Dallas.
Good to see everybody.
Thank you. Okay. Pleasure's ours. Dallas is joining us now. Is that really you, Dallas?
It is Dallas.
How are you this morning? Tudo bem?
Good morning. Tudo. Muito tudo.
Oh, very good. I was going to say, where are you? You probably don't want to tell us that. We're talking about tech this morning, aren't we?
I am in an undisclosed location.
Very good. Okay, we're picking up clues. We're picking up clues from the background there. Where looks like a Lisbon apartment to me.
Okay.
You're here to talk.
It's a green screen.
Of course it is. Via a VPN. Can we start there, Dallas? Welcome aboard this morning.
Sure.
Jim's going to stick around, and I'm sure we'll have lots of questions from the comments and the chat this morning about tech, about privacy. This is an issue for people. Typically, who do you help? This is a business that you're running. Who do you help with these services?
I help mostly expats, location independent folks, world travelers, people who are kind of spreading their wings around the world. Some RVers and the auto caravanners in the U.S., but that's not my core. That's not my core sweet spot for clients.
Very interesting then. So people who you're enabling with technology to move, and then balancing that in the world where people want more security and to keep their data to themselves and not be used as a commodity. On the one hand, enabling them with technology, and then closing down the portals a little bit to secure them some privacy, right? Have I got that right?
That's exactly right. But it also goes in line of privacy from, the hackers and the people that are trying to steal your identity and your data and so forth. Because when you're, in another country and you're talking to your bank in your home country and you're trying to, solve a problem, and when you're talking to your bank in a home country, you're talking to a guy named Thomas who has a very strong Indian accent, and it sounds like there's 100 people behind him, and he can't help you because he's following a script on his screen. You don't want to be in those situations when you're on the other side of the world.
And we have been, let's face it, we do find ourselves in those situations from time to time. First part of that then, the cell, as you call it in the United States, the mobile phone, keeping those connections. What are your recommendations for people, Dallas?
Okay, so that's a long, that could probably be a show in itself.
For sure,
Yeah, the important thing you need to do is you need to decide and I don't know if this is a UK thing, and I don't know if it's a European thing, but US people, we are intimately connected to our cell phone number. It's like our identity, it's our life. And I've had it since 1997. I can't give that up. I have to keep it. So you have to identify, you have to determine, are you married to that phone number? And if you are married to that phone number, there's certain things you need to do, and you can't make assumptions. And one of those things you need to do is you need to either continue to pay a very expensive cell phone bill, and not use it unless you're home. Another option would be you go get your world internet or world cell plan, like from a carrier, and the US version of Vodafone is Verizon, and you're going to spend a lot of money on data. Or the other option is you park it someplace, and you then move over to your Portugal or your other country's number with the SIM or whatever. And then there's certain things, it's technical, and there's a lot of different variables in this. It probably could be some work groups on talking about how to do all these different things, where you park it and what you can do with it once you park it. There's a lot of different variables. So it really depends on where you're at. Some people will use, I'm not a Google fan, but there's this Google service where you can go Google-fied to the world, but it's like 70. I had a customer who was going that route, and it was $70 a month just to do that. And it's like, it wasn't in her budget. And so
sure. And you might be wanting to minimize, right? You might want to be cutting down on all of these costs rather than adding to them.
Yeah, and just a really quick one could be, you can port it over to what's called VoIP service, voice over IP, like Google Voice. Yeah, one option. And there's other paid services that you can port your phone number over to, but you have to be careful, because you port it over to a voice over IP, a virtual cell phone service. Yeah, you have to verify that all of your authentication tokens for all those critical systems, critical applications that you log into for banking and so forth, they accept that virtual phone number, because a lot of times, not most of the time, I would say 55-60% of the time, they're going to block it. So you think, okay, I'm going to move everything over to Google Voice or Skype. Skype is another popular one with people who are not familiar with options. They move everything over to those. Okay, I'm covered. I'm good. And they don't test it out. And then they get to their country, and then they log into their home banking in their home country, and they say, okay, click here to get your one-time token, authentication token. And they do it, and it doesn't show up in their Skype box or their Google Voice.
And that can be pretty. That can be pretty devastating, can't it, to you managing your affairs, right?
Well, it is when it's Murphy's Law. When you really need it, it doesn't work. And you're trying to do a critical transfer. You got to move money over to another account. You got a tax bill due or something, or a friend or a family member. You need to transfer some money or something like that. Yes. And then that's when it's not going to work.
Yeah, and I'm seeing this. Yesterday, last night, I was working on Google, and I can understand why you're not a fan. They are a mixed blessing, aren't they? They do want a lot of your privacy in exchange for all the wonderful products they're giving us. But I was working, and then suddenly, I think I was working on the YouTube back office, and it said, "Oh, we just need to check your randomly." Okay, so I've put my password in. Oh, and now we need to send something to your phone to verify. Can you tell us what the number is on your phone? Now, if my battery was flat or I'd lost my phone, I would have been completely done for then. I couldn't have proceeded with my work out of a random thing that's designed to protect my safety, but actually ends up hurting my activity and my chances of doing anything. And this is I think the balance is a little bit out of our favor now, isn't it? And then earlier in the day, on a banking app, we have just sent you a code. Now, of course, they sending the code to the original phone number. This is the problem. One of the problems you're talking about, isn't it? They sent the code to my UK mobile number, which I don't have anymore. So, and you find yourself locked out in a distant corner of the cyberspace galaxy because you don't have access to that. I've dropped that connection because they wouldn't give it to me. It's not I dropped it as a cost-cutting exercise. I couldn't, after so many years in Portugal, keep my British number, which is the basis of my banking app through which they want to conduct a random security check. How are we going to deal with this? Have you got solutions for those sorts of problems? And PayPal, don't get me started on how many people complain to you about being locked out of PayPal?
I'm not a PayPal fan. I encourage everyone not to use PayPal. So that's a whole another discussion. So I don't really work. I have one customer who it's a long story, but basically their Facebook got hacked.
Right.
And they used the Facebook account to then the person had the same password, which you never do, for their Facebook as they did PayPal. Then they used the Facebook account to get into the PayPal account, and they ordered thousands of dollars of ads on Facebook. Oh. And then not only did it completely lock them out of their Facebook, but their PayPal was it was done. It was toast. There's no way they're going to get back into it, because again, you try to find a human, an intelligent person to actually make a human decision for you. It's not going to happen.
Is it? Not happening.
No. And so everything was locked up, and she said she felt like she was that's a strong word. I'm not going to say that word. She felt like she was opening her whole life up to Facebook and PayPal because they wanted documentation. They wanted her driver's license. They wanted her passport. They wanted her to send upload all this information to their systems.
Yeah.
And she's like, I feel dirty.
So it was easier. It was easier for a hacker to get in and do what they wanted to do than her to recreate her own account and security.
Yes. Yeah. So to go back to your question, what I say is you really, and this, Carl, this just happened to me. What your story is just the other day, and I think I have everything in place. But
Right.
I'll go back to my Revolut story. It just happened literally yesterday.
Me too.
Literally,
they must be running the same checks. It was Revolut. It was, and I think Jim might have a contribution about this as well. So what happened with you in Revolut?
Okay, so I was in Revolut and I was making a payment.
Yeah.
And because I like to use Revolut for their virtual cards, the user experience is really good. So
great.
I use it for their, and I was doing and the same thing. And I think what's happened, my guess is, Carl, is they've been having some bouts with fraud.
Yeah.
And stuff. So they're tightening things up. And so I get this message. I was trying to do, no, I can't remember. I was doing something very, very basic. I was trying to change my phone number.
Yes.
Because I noticed, like you, it was an old number. And so I went to go change it and I didn't have access to it. So I can't say, okay, we just sent you a code to your old number. I'm like, I don't have it anymore. So I had to click that.
Of course I don't.
Once I clicked that button, it came up with this, okay, we're due to fraud and blah, blah, we need to verify who you are. And then the representative named Bong came on the chat. And he's like, hi, my name's Bong. We need to verify your identity before. I'm like, okay. He's like, could you please take a picture of yourself holding a sign saying Revolut and the date?
It's like Marconi's first broadcast, isn't it? Can you hear us on the other side of the Atlantic? What? Seriously?
And I said, absolutely not. I said, where are you?
Yes.
What country are you in right now? And are you an employee of Revolut? And he would not answer either of the questions.
Right. You see he was, though, right? And that was just, or not?
Sorry?
Do you think he was or wasn't? Is it?
I mean, okay, he was real. He was
right,
but he was probably some third party bot. Verifier in, and it's like, okay. And I asked him, I said, if I upload my picture to your chat app in your application, where does that reside?
Yes.
How long do you keep it? What are your retention rules? And do you understand the acronym GDPR?
Yes, well said.
And I'm sure he looked at it and he goes, oh no, next.
Can you imagine? Come on, man. I'm just trying to earn enough money to fly back to Amsterdam here. Come on, give me a break.
So I said, no, I won't do it. I said, we got in a little bit of an argument, not an argument, a one-way argument. I'm like, okay, if you have, and that's my downside with Revolut. That's why I say, it is a good tool to have, but it shouldn't be your primary tool. They have very poor authentication processes and so forth. And that's why they have to do this, because they don't use authentication tokens and stuff. They only rely on SMS codes. Whereas Wise, you go and do something in Wise that they're not like real sure about.
Yeah.
They send or if you're logging into something that they're not like inconsistent to your behavior, normal behavior, they send a token to another app that's running Wise, and you just press yes, it's me, and you're done. That's all you have to do, and you're done, and you're in. So Wise has really figured it out. My go-to is Wise over Revolut, but Revolut is a good backup for some things. And now on that subject, I just noticed the other day, and I haven't tried it yet. Wise are starting to roll out virtual cards, invite only.
Okay, very good. Very good to know. Sorry, I've made the conversation a bit random this morning, but there's so much in this, and I think we need to get you back. It's a kind of clinic situation, is it? If people have particular situations they're in, you might be able to help them. Jim, do you recognize any of this?
What I recognize is the loop that you get into when you've got several phone numbers, and you haven't been able to get in to change your phone number to your local number because it doesn't. Anyway, yes, I've been in that loop, and it's very frustrating. You can lose a day and a lot of hair.
Yes.
And
yes.
Because,
Yep.
All right.
Worst case on that is how much time do we have? Do we have?
we finished at 10 on a good day. Well, it depends.
I think we got 2 weeks on this one.
You're gonna have to come back.
No, but do we have 15 minutes? Or are we done?
Yeah, 15 minutes is good.
Oh, good. We got plenty of time then to talk about this.
Good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So the key too is just back to that, and I made notes for what I knew this was going to go wherever it went, which is I like those. I don't like scripted, directed. It's so much more fun when it just kind of you go where it goes, right?
I'm glad you think so.
Yeah, and what we're talking about is actually what was on the top of my list of what I wanted to talk about, and really what people need to do that are going to take that expat journey or become international. They really need to shore up everything in their home country first, and they cannot make assumptions. Like I said, you can't just say, okay, I'm going to move everything over to Google Voice or Second Line or some of these other services and everything's good. You actually have to test it and make sure it works. You need to go into your banking apps and you need to see and verify what is my authentication process and what have I chosen. Yeah. Every banking app is different. Some will allow a voice call with a code. Some will do a text. Some have an authenticator app code. And you need to understand what your options are and what your choices are. And then you need to figure out, okay, well, if they do a token to my cell phone and I'm going to be, okay, then does it work with Google Voice? I just had a customer put in, we were doing all this and she's coming into Lisbon here in September. And I said, now's the time to start testing out all your different scenarios and making sure they work. And then she put in her Google Voice into her for authentication to US Bank. Didn't work. So she's like, okay, what do I do? And I said, well, you need to go into your app and look. There's so many different variables. Everyone's different. Go in your app and see what the authentication choices are and let me know and we'll go from there or talk to your rep. The one thing I would have to say and preface here, really important, is with your banking and stuff, you look at survival. What is the most important thing? If you're like lost or stranded, on a deserted island, what is the first thing you need to look for is water. Okay. Yes. You can go a month without food. You can't go through, 2 days without water. So you look for fresh water, drinkable water, and drinkable water for an expat or an international person is their money.
Yes, true. You've got to have access.
Yes, you have to have access. And what I say is, a very admired person in my life was a recon Marine and spent time in Afghanistan in the bush for months at a time. Was not in a cozy base, like he told me, until he returned back home. He said, oh, don't worry about it. I'm in this big base and surrounded by fences and everything's good. Don't worry. And no, he was out in the bush.
Right.
And anyways, he said, 2 is 1, 1 is none. That's a Marine saying, or maybe a military saying. 2 is 1, 1 is none. So if you have one, Americans love to have one bank, and 90% of the time it's a big bank. It's some conglomerate that you're just, you're just a shadow and you're a number. And what I tell people is what I encourage them to do is they need to establish a relationship with a person in their bank. Now, if they want to stick with their large bank, go to a branch where they don't just, pay, college graduates with a business degree, the minimum wage as a bank teller or whatever, and they're going to maybe be there for a year or stuff as they launch their career, and they're not going to be there, to answer a phone call, or they don't have a number that they don't have a number you can call. Yeah. Actually go to a traditional bank where there's a banker. Get to know your banker. Yes. Someone you can call and say, hey, I'm locked out of my credit card. The fraud department isn't helping me, blah, blah, blah. I got it. Dallas, I got your back. I'll take care of it for you.
Because they do know it's you, right? They have to go through the appropriate processes, but they are starting from the point of view of knowing it's you, which is,
of course,
they say, right?
Absolutely. And that's what concerns me is if they don't even know who I am and they start helping me, like, wait, can you just check my identity? Because I want to make sure, and sometimes that does happen. But once they get to know me and my mantra, they're like, oh, they double check. They verify my identity and then they help me. Yes. And what's really important to do that is not when you're in the country, out of your country. You need to do it before. You need to actually go in and there's this thing where you actually look at someone in their eyes.
Yes.
Okay. And you maybe shake their hand and tell them your story. It's not an app. It's not an SMS. It's not a call center.
It's magic.
Tell you what, that's
magic.
That's this old-fashioned two-factor authentication.
Yes, two-factor.
Eyes and hands. You know,
I love it.
First the eye contact, then the handshake. That is two-factor.
That's two-factor.
Yes, that is two-factor authentication. I love it. Yeah, so you need to go do that, and you need to tell them your story, because I'm telling you, people love to live vicariously through us. They love it. And you become, you know, maybe one of their, you know, their memorable or favorite clients by having that, and they kind of are part of your journey. Bring them back a bottle of, you know, Duro red wine when you come back into town or something like that. They love it. And the best one is bring back a Cuban. You know, bring back.
Okay. Yep. We love these tips. Things that I would have never thought of. I thought I was going to ask you about VPNs, and now I'm taking Duru wines and Cuban cigars to my bank. I think it could go well. I don't doubt it that could go very well. Who is one and one is none though? Is to have two options, or is that
you have to have back to that. I didn't cover that, but if you do everything through Mega Bank USA.
Yes.
And you have all of your pay, everything goes through, you know, one app, one bank, and then that locks you out. Then you're SOL. You have no other options. You're in a panic, and especially if you're in another country. I personally had a problem with Chase, and then I left them after that. This was a little over a year ago. They locked me out of my account, and they didn't allow me. I could not talk to any intelligent person. I went through all the validation processes. They did a soft pull of my credit account. Like, what vehicle did you own in 2003? You know, a red Nissan, a black Ford. I answered every question flawlessly, and they would not. And then they finally, once I got done with the bot, a message came up on my app and says, you need to go to a physical branch to verify your identity. And luckily, I was in the U.S., but I was 4 hours away from a Chase branch. So I had 4 hours driving. So I had to drive overnight and get there, and I had to change all my flights and stuff. Yeah. So anyways, your banking and having the right relationship, having more than one option. If you are married to your big bank with your cell phone number since 1997, then go get another account at another bank. I prefer a community bank or a credit union. Get those accounts set up and start aging them or seasoning them. That's where you start making transfers back and forth. Start making, getting that history. Because if all of a sudden, if you say, okay, I got my second bank account, or I had this bank account, I haven't used it in 3 years, and then you start using it and you're abroad, it's like, wait a minute, your behavior is different now. One of the banks is going to maybe flag that, say, wait, something's wrong here. So start doing all this, kind of be thinking your plan, get all these variables. You got to, and everybody's different. So I can't say these are the variables. You just got to make sure the transfers work. Look at other options for getting money moved around. So if one system fails or whatever, you have another option for getting money moved around. So that's really critical.
Great, Dallas. That's so good, and it's true. I mean, have more than two options. I'm in a condition at the moment, and after Revolut yesterday, it got worse. My Eurobit card wasn't working for a number of reasons. Got chewed up. They give you a very polite receipt for it. When a card machine here in Portugal takes your card, they give you a receipt to tell you that they've taken it. My Millennium Bank card, and I've been without Eurobit for a month now without a cash card, so I'm having to do everything by a transfer. Millennium BCP, card problems. She wanted to sell me another PIN number for €10. Turns out the card is faulty. And then yesterday, going into Revolut, I had the thing that you had. Please verify, and it was on my UK number. I've got it on Wi-Fi, but they want to send you the SMS via the network, don't they? So you're not going to get that. You're not going to get back into your account at that point. So I've got three. I thought I was well covered with 3 bank accounts, banking systems, all currently locked out at the moment. So this can happen. It's true what Dallas is saying here. We've got a few comments and suggestions, and not much love for PayPal as well by the sound of it. I don't know if we must cover VPNs. Where are we? Nazik Cook. I don't use PayPal. Locked out $100 for 10 years, and I gave up. Couldn't verify identity. And the funny thing with that is, PayPal have got quite a good business model, haven't they? Stealing all that money off people with no records. They must have quite a lot on their balance sheet of that sort of stuff. Gene cringes. at the mere mention of PayPal. When I try and watch American shows, I get a message that it's not allowed outside of the US for copyrights. I can get VPN for my computer, but how can I watch them on my TV? Okay, so can we do VPNs now?
Yes, do that. We have 5 minutes. Absolutely, we can do VPNs. So really quick, the main message I want to say about VPNs, and I probably can't get into it. Basically, really quick, a VPN is your private encrypted highway through all the different technologies and systems out there that can track your IP address, what you're browsing, where you're going, what country you're in, blah 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 blah. It creates this tunnel, this expressway that's private. So to answer, I'm sorry.
Oh, hello. Oh, we do. It always happens. Cats love to show their to the camera, don't they?
Yeah. So
hello. What a lovely beauty! What a beauty!
Yeah, excuse me. Her little house is full of stuff.
Put a cat out the window. Where's mine? Where's my cat?
Okay. So the VPNs. Okay. In short, VPNs are overrated. They're becoming less and less effective. There's a lot of services and technologies out there and systems that are monitoring VPNs, and they have blacklists of VPN IP addresses. VPNs are getting more and more restrictive. Okay, they do. It is a tool. You need to have a VPN in your toolbox, but it is not your primary daily driver tool. Okay, now some people may disagree with that. There are some services that are better than others as far as being stealth and off those blacklists. But it's happening more and more. And back to the Revolut really quick. I didn't realize I was on my VPN when that happened. I think that triggered part of the problem.
Yes,
I was on my VPN for another reason, and then I forgot to turn it off. And I was in Revolut on their app on my tablet, my iPad, and so when you're using a VPN, that is a trigger event. Okay.
Yeah.
If they allow a VPN, they may say be a little more. Oh, you need to do this CAPTCHA 25 times. Click the boat.
Every image with a cat in it. We could have done our own there. Click every box with a cat in it.
And I love the ones where you have to, where it's the H CAPTCHA, where you have to, they give you this funky word and you're looking at it like, is this Latin? And you're
that's right. All to get into our own stuff. I can't believe it.
Yeah, so it's getting harder and harder. Amazon now is blocking VPNs to make orders. Not all, but it's either other trigger events and banking. If you do certain things in banking, if they allow you in with a VPN, there's certain things they've identified you're on a VPN, a public VPN, and they will limit certain things like changing a phone number, doing a transfer, setting up a new transfer destination, stuff like that. Yeah. And the frustrating thing with it is it doesn't block, a pop-up doesn't come up and say, oh, you're on a VPN, you're not allowed to do this. It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
And there are cases now, I've heard that Capital One is actually, if you log into Capital One on the app with a VPN, bam, you're locked out of your account.
Really?
They lock it out, and you have to call them. Now I think that they'll, you have to call and go through an authentication process, but they'll at least unlock it. Not like my Chase situation where you have to drive 4 hours, but you just be aware of that. So VPNs are something to have. It's important to have. It helps protect you when you're on Wi-Fi's and in hotels and coffee shops and stuff like that. Yeah. It helps you with your identity, so they're not tracking where you're doing, what you're doing, and stuff like that. But really, they are limiting. They're getting more limited on what you can do with them. So if you think you're in your home country, I'm just gonna get a VPN and it'll look like I'm always in the U.S. That's not the case anymore. So there's different ones that are better. And the only thing, we got like 1 more minute. The only thing
we love to hear you speak. So you let me worry about the time.
Okay.
You tell us what you got to tell us, because we've got a couple of quickies, and clearly the obvious thing here is we need to have you back if you're willing to come back.
Absolutely.
Because you've got mailboxes as well. You've got all sorts of solutions for people, haven't you? And I thought it's like, okay, what's the best phone system for the Americans? What's a VPN? Thanks, Dallas. What are your contact details? But no, it's not going to be as simple as that. Of course, everyone has different situations, and the whole scene is changing, isn't it? That's the other thing. This VPN thing and the aggressive security situation is upon us, isn't it? Where you're being stopped during your own legitimate activity to prove who you are. That seems to be happening with Netflix, with Amazon, as you're saying there, and we can really do without this, but the problem is you've got to go through it. You can't go around it, can you?
Yeah, correct. Yep, exactly. And back to that question to give them a succinct answer is the VPNs. It's a tool in your toolbox. If you do, I recommend getting it signed up for a VPN and starting to utilize it. What I really would recommend is don't get sucked into those. Oh, you can get a 3-year membership for $100 or something like
Yes.
that. They suck. They like, oh, for everybody else it's $20 a month, but we'll give you 3 years for $100 or something like that. And because then you're married to that one and you just don't know if it's going to actually work. Some are better than others. There's a lot of shady care. As you know, there's millions of VPN options out there. And the reason there is because it's an easy business and there's a lot of shady ones out there.
Yeah.
I've heard ExpressVPN people are fairly successful using ExpressVPN for getting to their favorite shows in the US.
Yes.
I don't use ExpressVPN. I use Proton VPN and I use Mullvad. Mullvad's a very good Swedish-based it's really easy, no long-term memberships, no cheesy, scammy advertising.
Yes.
I think they're really an authentic company. So the other thing I recommend you do, now you can't, I'll tell you what I do, but I'm an outlier. I have my own private. I have my own VPN, private VPN to the U.S. So I have my own physical server in the U.S. and so it's not been flagged as a VPN server. I also have one in Sweden because I have a friend who wanted to do the exact same thing. They're like, hey, I want to get into these Swedish news or TV shows, and they won't let me because I'm in Portugal and I have and they won't let me use a VPN. So I spun up a private server, a VPN server in Sweden. So when I want to be in the EU on a private VPN, I just flip over to Sweden. So I'm from Gothenburg. So so those are so VPNs, give them a try. But if one doesn't work, you can try another one, but just don't do the long-term plans with them.
Okay, Dallas. Look, Victoria's got some funny comments for us. Who's the dude in the hat? I think that's obvious now, kind of. Also, we're looking like the man cave suddenly because there's 3 of us on the screen here. And a quickie from Lisa. What's your thoughts on credit unions? And Rebecca answering that in some way. My credit union will not connect to Wise. Is that the problem? They're not very sophisticated in terms of connections.
Okay, so I have not had experienced that with Wise. I have Wise connected to several U.S. bank accounts. No credit unions. Right. Yes, credit unions. I do have a credit union, and I have community banks and the large banks with Wise. Not a problem. So that's a good one. If you test that out before you travel, then you maybe need to go to another bank and get another backup bank account. But I'm really surprised that's the problem. I have no problem with Wise. And to answer a really quick question here, someone was talking about crypto and stuff. I use crypto multiple times a week, and my best is I created my account in the U.S. Coinbase, and I started doing small transfers from my U.S. bank. I've had no problems from both large and small banks in the U.S. getting U.S. funds to crypto. What you do is you start with $10, $25 a week, $100 every 2 weeks, every paycheck or something. You just start getting that, again, aging that account like a fine bottle of Duro wine. You start aging it,
Yeah, seasoning. I love that.
Seasoning it, yes.
And I suppose security software is looking out for the unusual, isn't it? So if you create those. Yeah, if you create those habits, that's going to help for you.
Yep. So I would say I would really talk to people who knows the back office of the bank and see why that's being blocked. That doesn't make sense to me. There could be something with the ACH or something. Wise uses Plaid as an intermediary to verify who you are to do those transfers, and Plaid is a pretty solid company. So that. I believe it's happening, but I think there's a logical reason. And if there isn't, then you just maybe need to find another bank.
Amazing. We have a review of you already. Look at it. You're a fab, apparently. Thank you, Deborah Davies. Good morning, Deborah. My VPN stopped working. I can't access the BBC. Yeah, they're onto it, aren't they? I mean, it's cat and mouse, isn't it?
And yes, whack-a-mole.
I do still pay the license fee. Bless you. Her Majesty will be proud of you, Deborah. And that is all we've got time for this time. Yes. Apart from Johnny saying, why wearing sunglasses indoors? Is that the American way? We'll leave her guessing, shall we?
Yeah, let's just leave. I'm a very private person. My face, I'm not on social media. I'm not very public.
Okay, and probably Dallas isn't the real name.
No.
I don't know. We'll get,
Dallas Winston. Dallas Winston is my alias. Look it up.
Okay, should they? Or should they be using a VPN to do that? Vamos para España. Beijos para todo. Victoria, have a superb time. Proton VPN apparently is, and you recommended that, didn't you? Thank you,
Proton
Simon.
VPN is very good. Yes.
Yeah, interesting. I'll check out Surfshark. This is brilliant. Surfshark works far better for me than ExpressVPN. So
everybody has different experiences and stories. It's like what works for. It's kind of like the consulates getting your CEF stuff. One will just different success stories for different people in different areas. So
yeah, I love it when Capture is a computer that asks a human if they are real. It's very good. I love the check where you have to click the stop sign or traffic lights, because that just proves I'm a Tesla. Very good. Well done, everybody, this morning. Dallas, thank you so much. I mean, we got to get you back. Jim, thank you so much. Jim, you can find on our community forum expatsportugal.com/community. Dallas, I have been told off, I think, kind of. Please put your guest contact details in the notes. I mean, a privacy expert, someone who loves their privacy, how are people going to get in touch with you? Have they got to meet you in a park with sunglasses?
Right. Yeah. Yes. They have to go through a capture process, and they have to show me their 3 forms of identification.
Hold up a piece of paper.
Selfie.
With a selfie. Yes. No. Yeah. So what we can do with that, Carl, you can put those in the show notes. How's that?
Okay.
Sound?
Yeah, fair enough. So we'll get you on. We'll get you on again.
Perfect. We'd love to do that.
I'd love you to come back. There are so many things we haven't talked about. There are lots of things we have talked about, and it feels like we could go even deeper into many of those things. So thank you so much for being with us this morning. But both you and Jim, have a great day. We'll go straight out with the outro now and do some whistling.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Brilliant.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Bye, Dallas.
Ciao.